Hi, this is Majinone, and here's my reviews for Batman Inc. number 8, Guardians of the Galaxy .1, and Uncanny Avengers number 4. I'll do this one first. Overall, I mean, it's a decent issue, leading up to the ending. It basically ties up the battle kind of nicely. You have a nice handling of Thor between Scarlet Witch and Havoc, and of course, the Red Skull escapes at the end, but I think what people are really going to be talking about is the actual ending of this book, because what it does is it goes slightly into the future, and this is dealing with the Apocalypse Twins. Now, remember everything, like I said, everything up to that part was great, and I thought it was well written. I loved the art. The action was well paced. I love the way the Red Skull looks, but I am still on the fence with the very end villain. Because at the very end, what you have is Sentinels flying, you have Sunfire with a couple of the heroes, and a villain makes his appearance. Now, there's a prophecy of this, this encounter here, a deceased villain in a cave, and the surprise. I'm not going to spoil the surprise, because this is either going to be a moment of, oh my god, this is amazing, or this is going to be a moment of probably, oh my god, you have got to be kidding. And my initial reaction is, oh my god, you have got to be kidding me. Why did you go that way? Now, I understand that one clue I will give you is this. The villain that makes the appearance makes sense. In the sense of, if you look at the history of the character and you put it into context of what's going on with the Red Skull, in a roundabout way, it makes sense. But at the same time, I'm kind of going, why did you go there when you have the Apocalypse Twins and other things that are going on which are going to be just as good? But we'll have to wait and see what Remender has in mind. I mean, generally, I think Remender's been doing a good job, so I'm holding back the rage just for a while. Okay. Now, let's talk about Guardians of the Galaxy. This here was a great .1 issue. If you want to look at how .1 issues should be done, this is how they should work. This gives you the exact foundation that you need to know before you buy the Guardians of the Galaxy. It gives you who this character is, the Star-Lord. You give the motivation behind what he's trying to do, and you put him into the setting. Basically, what he is he's a prince, and his father was from royalty. He crash landed, and he had little relationship with a Earth woman while he was fixing his spaceship. And eventually he just goes off into space because he's got a war to fight. Well, sure enough, she's pregnant, and out comes a little Star-Lord. And obviously he's got issues because he doesn't have a father, and it's not like the mom can tell him, well, son, you don't understand, your father came from outer space. Kid's not going to believe that. But you can tell that this kid has a sense of justice and right and wrong, which is basically what you need to establish the hero. Now, one thing I do also like about this book is how it's bringing back the Badoon. The Badoon has been pretty much forgotten for the longest time, and the thing is, Badoon was very tied into the old Guardians of the Galaxy. Not the version that I did in the video for Who is Guardians of the Galaxy. We're talking about the original Guardians with Charlie 27 and Matrix, and I think I mispronounced his name, but Yondu and people like that, people like that. So it's really nice to see them bring them back, but part of me is also kind of torn because I really enjoyed the direction that the new Guardians of the Galaxy was taking with the Annihilation, the Conquest, and Realm of Kings and things like that. I liked how it was going to unexplored territory rather than immediately going back to the Badoon. In this case, since we've already gone through a whole bunch of new stuff, and then what we're trying to do is bring back a bunch of old comic book fans, or not necessarily old, but new readers to the Guardians. I think maybe we can play around with the Badoon. Now it's time to play with the Badoon. Bendis does a great job with the plot. He does Steve McNiven does a great job with the artwork. And I guess you can say one of my major complaints about this whole book is, well, actually there's two complaints. One is you have to bring in Iron Man because you need to attract the Avenger readers. You know, it's like, why don't you try to let these characters stand on their own? But I can understand Marvel's probably a little bit afraid that it's not going to do well, so they have to bring in an established character. And on the other hand, you know, it's also going to hopefully tie in better with the movies to show that there's a better connection. And my other complaint is there is far too much clothing on Gamora. She is supposed to be half naked and with blades, and it's clearly she's completely covered. You know, Drax is the way looks like he's supposed to look, but something's a little off with this picture here. But we'll see. Hopefully they'll get it. It looked like they were getting it right in Nova, so we'll see what happens. But I'm definitely glad I got this. Okay, Batman Inc. number 8. Rest in peace. Now, this is the spoiler that has already been spoiled. Robin dies. Now, I have to admit this one thing. I read it, but when I read it, I was really tired, and I was really having a hard time formulating, you know, opinions one way or the other, strong opinions one way or the other. I mean, I was slowly digesting it, and I was having issues with how to properly present them. But I read the new issue of One Piece, and that was just so utterly, amazingly fantastic that it completely woke me up. And I mean, it's unfortunate that most of you will not get the pleasure of what I've just read, because this issue here, all 3 of those issues fail in comparison to one panel. That one panel just completely obliterated everything. But anyways, let's go back to Batman Inc. Now, apparently, what they've been doing is they've been throwing hints all along that Robin's was targeted for death. There was, like, you know, at the very beginning of the storyline, there was, you know, people were basically targeting him with, you know, getting shot in the head. There was a couple scenes with him in the middle of tombstones for, you know, the Waynes. And there was another one where Batman was, I guess, sliding down a pole in the Batcave, and then the Robin's pole had blood on it. I mean, I haven't bothered to look for that one, but I do remember the other ones, the other 2. And on top of that, I read in an article review that, you know, Grant Morrison had originally intended to kill Robin, but he kept him on longer, which makes me wonder. It's like, I would have rather have had Robin die earlier than have him stay alive as long as he did and become entrenched into the Batman universe and then kill him off. Now, apparently there's clones of Damian, but the thing is, there is no, you can't replace Damian with anybody. I think that would be an insult right there. And in fact, it's later learned that this guy here is a clone. So it's, you know, clearly it's not the same person. And you know, like, I guess you can say Grant Morrison did a fantastic job in the death, in the sense that it's bringing out a reaction out of people. And, you know, I've always said that the one thing comic books do need is they need to get reactions out of people, because you need the attention. You need people to talk about it. You need people to, you know, point things out that, hey, there's something interesting going on. And in most cases, that none of that happens anymore. And it's just unfortunate that in this case, DC decided to notify the newspapers, 2 days before the issue even came out, that Robin died, in order to get that kind of attention. And, okay, putting that aside, I really wish they didn't kill Robin. Damian, in my opinion, is one of the strongest Robin characters we've seen in a long time. Now, obviously Dick Grayson's probably going to be considered the all-time greatest Robin. And that's, granted, you can argue that, but, he's had the longevity, and he's a very well-rounded character now. You had Jason Todd, who was basically a troublemaker. You know something bad was going to happen to him later, based on his attitude. He gets killed, and then later he comes back as the Red Hood, which was completely and utter nonsense, I think. But at least, he's like, you can say he's that troubled Robin. Then you had Tim Drake, who at the time was probably considered one of my personal favorite Robins. He was the one person that I thought could probably take the mantle of the Bat, in the future. But I liked how DC split him off that and gave him his own identity, which was something that I thought that his character would have needed eventually, because otherwise he's just in the shadows of Dick Grayson. And but he was technically like almost a flawless type person. Granted he had issues. He was kind of like a Peter Parker like, but he was smart. He was strong. He had decent fighting skills. He had leadership abilities. All that stuff would have developed into a great leader in the future. But here comes Damian. Damian was a snot-nosed brat who gave the finger basically to Dick Grayson and said, I don't acknowledge you. I am, the heir to Batman. And I should be wearing the cape and cowl right now because you don't deserve it. And he had attitude, he had spunk, and he didn't respect authority. And as we went through these issues, he slowly started to change. And he matured, and, he was developing at a very nice pace. And out of every Robin there was, Damian was the one guy that I would have said he wanted it, and he would have probably have been the best Batman, in the future. The guy to step up when Bruce finally puts the cape away. And now there's nobody. I don't care who you throw in there next. In my head, Damian is the guy. And the way they even killed him, it wasn't even like, granted he tried to protect a young girl, but it wasn't even like a spectacular death. It wasn't even, it was an avoidable death. They didn't even have to go to the death type thing. They could have easily have sidetracked it. They could have beat him to a pulp. And especially, since, the learning experience that Damian had to go through. And to have him just get stabbed through the chest by a big sword was kind of like anticlimactic in a way. And I really do think that, I think for me at least, the Damian character's ruined. I know that there's already probably a lot of different thoughts out there, meaning, they'll just throw him into the Lazarus pit and he'll resurrect. They will, maybe it was there's another clone of him, and that's not the real Damian, but there's another Damian. There could be, it's just another swerve, it's in an alternate universe, it's blah, 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 it's all these different things. Obviously, it's not an alternate universe because there's events that are happening in Batman and, Batman and Robin and Detective that are going to tie into this. Like, there's the silent issues coming. So, obviously, this isn't an alternate reality. And I think to bring him back now you've insulted us. I mean, which, don't get me wrong, they're going to bring him back. It's just a matter of time. You know, the one thing I think I've learned, and most of us know, but there's probably a few people who still haven't learned, is nobody stays dead in comic books. You know, there used to be a time when somebody died, they stayed died. They were dead. But the minute they brought Superman back, changed everything. Every superhero and villain who's died has come back. Everybody. It's just a matter of time, you know. And and even Marvel gets, cute going around it by going, okay, well, we don't want to bring back Phoenix, but we'll bring back a younger version of Jean Grey. Same thing, she's back. So don't get me wrong. This is Damian. This is, look at his lineage. Ra'al Ghul, and he'll be back in some capacity. He will be back, but again, for me, it cheapens the character. It's insulting that you have to go. Now it becomes a publicity stunt, and not only did I not agree with the death, not only do I think that the death is not even necessary. I mean, granted, not too many people were even reading this in comparison to the other titles, but I don't think that this was the proper form to even do that in. This should have been in Batman Core versus a side story that people weren't reading, and then all of a sudden, oh shit, I gotta buy this book now just so I know what's going on. Please. So, to me, it was a marketing scam. Granted, don't misunderstand. It could have been in the works for months, and it sounds like it was. But to me, it's still a marketing scam because they look at the numbers, and this is the surefire way to get the numbers up to this book. And I just wish they didn't do it. This is the one. Grant Morrison to me does good sometimes, and I think Grant Morrison has really sunk to a whole new level of low in this one. And to me, I think Grant Morrison has completely ruined Batman for me. Not only did he kill him during that whatchamacallit miniseries where Darkseid came back and was slaughtering all the heroes and turning them into evil versions of themselves, and then Batman. Then there's that miniseries, The Return of Bruce Wayne, where you see Bruce Wayne time jumping. You ruined that whole Batman for me during that, and now you've ruined Robin, and you've ruined Batman again. And I'm definitely, this book is dropped. As of this issue, I'm gonna notify my comic store to drop it. I'm not gonna deal with this any more of this nonsense, and if I'm just gonna utterly refuse to buy it any longer. And I just hope Grant Morrison then goes to another book and doesn't touch Batman, the regular Batman, ever again, because it's tarnished the character. And I think I've rambled for a long time, so let me reward you guys who are still listening with a code. Okay, this says TMM31ZLDE71Z. Okay, if you have any comments or questions, let me know. Rate the video up or down. Let me know what you think. If you don't agree with what's going on here, I would recommend just start reading One Piece, because I guarantee you, even though it's 700 chapters in, the current issue is mind-blowingly awesome. Bendis in his best, Jeff Johns in his prime, Chris Claremont in his prime, Rick Remender, none of those guys could hold a candle to the storylines that I have read in One Piece. That simple. Anyways, like the Facebook link, there's the Crunchyroll link. I do reviews there, and
Until next time.